For this handy-dandy scapular mobility series, we're going to have 4 basic movements. What's called upward rotation of the scapula, downward rotation of the scapula, protraction of the scapula, and then retraction of the scapula. Getting the scapula to move better, to support the humerus better, is always going to be great for things like impingement type stuff, or frozen shoulder type things, or rotator cuff pain, neck tightness, a whole bunch of different things. Getting that scapula to move better is going to be of paramount importance. So we'll run through in this video kind of what it looks like from the outside, and then at some point I'll link up a video on one of these little spots that has kind of visuals of what you should be trying to do with your scapula in these movements, because it's one thing just to go through the movements, it's another thing to intensely visualize what you're trying to do with your scapula on the back side of you, and that's really difficult because it's on the back side of us. Most of us are not aware really of what our scapula actually does. So I'm going to link up another video here during this video that goes through the actual visuals of what that movement should be looking like, or what you should be attempting it to look like in your scapula as you're going through this series. So for your starting position, what you'll take up is either standing or seated, whatever is easiest for you. If you have shoulder pain when you're doing this sequence, you'll have to limit your ranges of motion a little bit. I'm going to walk you through it as though the pain's not too bad and you can get into the ideal positions, and then we can make an adjustment if we need to. So basically, you'll start standing with your arms down here-ish, 45 degrees upwards, thumbs pointing up, not all the way out wide and not all the way in, but somewhere in between. I kind of like to use baseball foul lines as sort of the width you should take up. Then you come up to about 90 degrees if you can get there with no pain. Once you get to 90 degrees, you're going to emphasize and really make sure you get all of the available shrugging of your shoulders up. And once you've shrugged those shoulders up, and then you bring the arms all the way up and around, fighting to maintain the upward part with the shoulder blades. What will often happen is you'll get to here, you'll shrug, and then as you come up, you'll kind of go, and let them drop. We don't want to do that. You want to make sure you come up to here, shrug, force the shrug, keep the shrug as you bring those arms and you're reaching your fingers all the way for the ceiling. And now as you're reaching all the way for the ceiling and as you're traveling up that direction, if you get some kind of pain or impingement sort of stuff going on in your shoulders like I'm getting right now, because I actually separated my AC joint 4 days ago, and the only reason I can move around this far is because I've been doing this sequence. But if you have those kind of issues as you're bringing your arms up, what you want to do is you imagine that someone's got their fingers right on the outside of your fingers, and you're trying to reach out for them the whole time as you come up and around, taking the wide arc around and up, not just going up, 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 but thinking up, shrug, and then wide, reaching up towards the ceiling, keeping those shoulders up and fighting to keep them up. After you get up here and you squeeze and hold those shoulders up, reaching wide for a couple of seconds, then what we're going to do is we're going to start bending the arms. We're actually going and taking the elbows back, so not just here, but forcing them back as much as they can go comfortably. As you take them back, you're then driving your shoulder blades down and in, downwardly rotating them towards your spine, trying to tuck those elbows and shoulders kind of down towards your back pocket area, right in the small of your back, holding that and squeezing it with a nice tall thoracic spine getting extended with the chest up here as you pinch down and in. Now after you've gotten all the way downwardly rotated, squeezing and kind of maintaining that for a couple of seconds, our next stage is going to be to reach your arms back out to foul line width. Then you're going to round your spine a little bit. So I'm not up tall, I'm kind of rounding down a little bit to make sure I can get the maximal amount of what's called protraction. I'm trying to reach my shoulder blades as far away from my spine as they'll go, stretching them actively, trying to reach those hands and shoulders forward, which you won't be able to do if I'm all the way up here. This is as far forward as I can get my shoulders if my thoracic spine is extended, versus if I round it, I can get all this more protraction if I round my spine. So after you've come down here, you then reach forward, and then you're rounding the spine and reaching forward as far as you can, holding and squeezing that for a couple seconds. Now after you've maximized that protraction and squeezed it for a couple seconds with that rounded spine, you're then going to start bringing your shoulders and arms back, and you have to extend your spine so we can get the maximal amount of what's called retraction of our shoulder. Squeezing those shoulder blades together, driving the arms back and holding that for a couple of seconds as well. And after you've gotten done with this, then you just kind of reset to here, and then we rinse and repeat those 4 stages. Upwardly rotating, reaching for the ceiling, keeping those shoulders up, pulling the elbows back, elbows and shoulder blades coming down and in towards the spine, downwardly rotating, rounding the spine, protracting all the way forward, stretching that as far as you can with those fingers and shoulders, trying to reach and reach and reach with the rounded spine, then getting that up tall, bringing it back into retraction, squeezing it back as hard as you can, with the arms driving all the way back. So now what I also want you to see is what this looks like from behind. So I'm also going to link up a little video up here in one of the spots where it goes, of showing you kind of the visuals of what you're trying to do with your shoulder blade, because it's really important to have the idea of what I'm trying to do with my shoulder blades while I'm doing these movements, not just kind of going through the motions, but what am I really trying to accomplish with the shoulder blades on my back. So if we start here, you can see I'm not just kind of bringing my arms up, I'm bringing my arms to here, then I'm shrugging as much as I can, keeping that while I'm reaching up. Then as I pull my elbows back, I'm not just pulling down, I'm pulling and pulling my shoulder blades down with that tall spine, driving them down and in. Then I'm rounding that spine to reach them forward as far as I possibly can. I'm not just kind of reaching, I'm rounding and really trying to maximize that protraction of the scapula. Then I'm getting up tall, and I'm not just pulling back, I'm really trying to cinch those shoulder blades back as much as they'll go as I drive my arms backwards.